Hey guys, Tina here. I am super excited to share something with you that has been incredibly beneficial to my day. It has helped with so many things for my mood, my energy, my sleep, my skin, my focus, all the things, and it's super clean, which is very, very important to me. If you want more information, I would love to share it with you. Send me a message on my Instagram. My handle is Tina M. Kafka, or there is a link in my bio. I'm super excited. I want to hear from you. I want to build a relationship and help you to create the best life that you want, meant for you. Bye, guys.
Welcome to the Fearless Queens podcast for anyone looking to expand in abundance, success, and love every single day.
We are your hosts, Tina
and Sarah,
two women on a mission to heal the world one person at a time. Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. And this topic is going to be a little maybe controversial, maybe a little hard to listen to, but Sarah and I both feel this is a very important topic, especially this time of year to talk about. And we want to be a voice of love to people who are hurting and people who are suffering. And this topic itself is pretty touchy, but we feel like what we've learned in this experience and watching this, we feel we can share this with you and hopefully offer some insight and just help us learn to really see each other through eyes of love, even in the pain, even in the suffering, and take away judgment and bring love into the situation.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about the Netflix series Dahmer. And essentially our goal in this podcast episode is to shine a light of learning what loving one another truly is, even when people have done deep, dark, hurtful, indescribable things. Because at the end of the day, we are souls that are each having our own human experience and touching the lives of one another and seeing others through not what we are in the physical form, but deep down to our core, the soul that is within this body that's holding us. Just shining a light to people that didn't have love and just shining through in that way.
And I think that that's very good that you said that, Sarah. And I think that if we can share with you a little bit of the backstory now, obviously we're aware it's a Netflix series. We know it's not verbatim. This is no disrespect to anybody. We weren't there. We don't know the details of the actual situation. But what we would like you to take from it is the facts that we've learned and the experiences of our own personal life and things we've, gone through and how through what he has experienced in his life. If it would have just been a few different things, maybe it could have created a change. And so our purpose here as we share this is maybe you may see an experience where you could have an impact on someone's life, or you could maybe make a change. Maybe you feel like you have made mistakes in your life that are unforgivable. And in hearing this, hopefully you can see maybe there's a change, or maybe there's something coming that you can truly experience.
Essentially, we're going to be talking about how God forgives all, and there's not one sin that is greater or more or less than the other. It is all in one category. All of us fall short of the
glory of God.
Yes. And that we're here on this planet to learn how to love one another, and we're here to be light in this such deep, dark world. And I believe that if Jeffrey Dahmer would have received love from an early point in his life, maybe he wouldn't have became what he was.
So if you watch the series, and the way they depicted it was in the beginning of his life, when his mother and father conceived him, they hated each other. So he was not only born not out of love, he was created out of hate and anger. And that created an environment for him to feel that he was not worthy. And then after that happened, his mother, while he was in the womb, tried to commit suicide numerous times. And then also his mother and father fought all the time and didn't want him to be born from the time he was in her stomach until the time he was a grown adult.
Yeah, and what I've learned recently, because I'm in yoga teacher training, that when we're conceived, it starts from conception. Everything that we become, like that's like our root. It's called our root chakra. I mean, I'm getting into the weeds, but essentially like everything that we are and that we become starts from the moment that we are placed into this your mom's body. I mean, everything that she's doing, the environment that she's in is all a part of you. And like how Tina said, Jeffrey was not raised in a loving, kind home. He only knew what he was exposed to, which was not love, which was not forgiveness, which was not empathy, and all the things that make you feel warm and cozy inside. He was very brought up in a cold situation and in a cold environment.
And how true that actually is, I can share my own personal experience. When I was pregnant with my child, I know that I had, as most women who are pregnant are very emotional, I was over the top emotional. And I remember crying in my closet when I was pregnant with him. And when he was born, his cry literally sounded like my cry. And he was a very sensitive, emotional little baby. You can ask my mom. So the reason why we want to share that it started at birth is because throughout, if you look at the chain of events throughout his life, you see he was screaming for love. He could it was like a cry for help from the time he was little until the absolute end when he accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior into his life. So his entire life was a cry for love. Is it the right way? Absolutely not. And I think that we can all think of situations in our life where we went about getting love in not the greatest ways. And so we are here to share with you how we can break the barriers and hopefully help you create a happier world for yourself and those around you.
Yeah, and I don't think Jeffrey had the tools to know what love is. He didn't love himself at all. And you can't give other people what you don't have. So what did he give? He gave people fear, because that's what he had deep down in his core, because he was never loved himself. He had no idea what that even meant. And so when he got to jail, when he got to prison, somebody finally introduced him to who Jesus was, and he realized that his sins could be forgiven because Jesus Christ, God, is the creator, the end-all be-all of the universe. And if you don't believe in anything, I hope this sheds a light on that there's something greater and bigger out there than you are, because you're missing out on a huge part of life. And that hole that you feel deep down in your core, you will never get fulfilled with external things. It turns from within, and God is within you. I mean, that's just point blank of what we are, which is love. And we're here on this planet to learn what love is. And he didn't know that he could be worthy of love, that he was enough and deserved this because of all the things he had done in his life. I mean, he was a murderer. That is factual. He killed many people. He
was very sick. He was
Yes.
a very ill human being. And I know a lot of people that I've spoken to don't even want to watch the show, which I completely understand. But what I noticed in the show that really stood out was he actually asked for help. He actually cried for help, and his dad kind of ignored it or avoided it. His mom literally left him. He was home alone for months at a time. And he would ask curious questions, and you could see situations where he was screaming for help and nobody was listening to him. And I completely am empathetic to that specific feeling of screaming for help and feeling like nobody could hear you. And so if you can get inside his mind, not to be like him, but just to understand there's so many people in this world who just want love and empathy. And we miss so many opportunities to love one another. And I have to think that if he had been shown love from the day he was born, from the friends that he was surrounded by, his mom, his dad, I have to think that his life would have been different. Obviously, we can't go back and change the past, but what we can do is choose to love other people going forward. We can choose to accept people as they are. You don't have to agree with what people do. You don't have to think that, like, I think that that's the issue with religion versus Christianity, is we think that I'm going to go off on a tangent, Sarah. You might have to rescue me. Just cut me off. But a lot of times what happens is when we decide to walk with Jesus, it means we have to be perfect. But that's the total opposite. God doesn't want you to be perfect. You're not supposed to be perfect. And then that's where religion comes in and basically shuns you if you make any bad choice. But it's not up to the religion. Religion was created by man, not by God.
And it's a relationship with the divine. Whatever you want to call that for, Tina and I, it's God. And it's a vertical line from the sky, the heavens, the universe, down to yourself, your soul. How will you show up in the world? Like, because you believe in more than yourself.
It's not up to us to look at other people and tell them how to live their life or what they should or shouldn't be doing. It's up to us to love them and create an environment where they feel open enough to have a conversation with you. And when like his dad knew that he wanted to have a conversation with him and he avoided it, changed the subject and ran from it. If you know that someone is curious and they want to know more, we are not here to condemn people or judge them. We're here to love them. And using this as an example.
Yeah, you have no idea what other people are going through on a daily basis. For me, Tina and I show up on social media. We have this podcast, and people may think that they know us and that we are like happy-go-lucky human beings all the time. But let me tell you, I've gone through deep, dark things, and I know Tina has too. And you don't know what people go through until you live a day in their shoes. And with Jeffrey Dahmer, he was acting out because he didn't know any different. That was the lifestyle, like the negativity, the drinking, the fears that he had. I mean, it led him to act out on those impulses he had in his soul. I mean,
he was so fearful of somebody leaving him because that's what happened his entire life. He was so fearful of someone leaving him. And again, it feels just disgusting to say that that's, why he did what he did, because it's definitely not okay. I had a very hard time watching what he did to people, but that is the extreme of what can happen when people don't feel love. And a lot of times I had a friend who her father had tried to, end his life and he didn't succeed. And I say that it's such a deep-rooted pain that someone who doesn't go through that could never even understand. And I don't want you to understand or maybe even know why Jeffrey Dahmer did what he did, but just being a light for people and being there for people and helping people heal is just so powerful. It could literally save lives and create a ripple effect to a better world.
Yeah. So, Tina, what does loving somebody look like? Like a stranger, somebody you don't get along with? Because I think it's easy to love somebody, your best friend, your parents, if you have close relationship with them. It's easy to love other people who love you back. It's extremely hard to love somebody who is not nice to you, who has hurt you, who is not for you, who is, all the things that are not nice in this world. It's easy to just say pish posh on them, like I don't like them, I wish them ill, la la la. But they're still a human being, they're still a soul, and there's a reason why they are acting in that way. Because every time somebody's pointing a finger at you or telling you something, there's 3 fingers pointing back at them, and that's all that they can give. And that's, even if they don't even know that they're doing it, it's subconsciously all that they know. Mm-hmm. So when somebody's showing up and they're judgmental, they are envious, mm-hmm. bitter, it has nothing to do with you. It's just the projection and their perception of their own life that is coming out because that's all that they have within themselves. So what do you think, Tina, helping people understand and learning how to love somebody that's hard to love?
I love that, because that has been the last 2 years of my life is learning to love and forgive people who have wronged me. And this is not to say I've not wronged anyone. Obviously I have. But because then I guess you could also say the forgiveness really isn't about forgiving them. The forgiveness is about forgiving, yourself and loving yourself. But how I show up or how I learn to love people who are not lovable, and this might sound very extreme, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll think to myself that there are so many people who claimed they were friends with Jesus, and those are the people that killed him. So in my brain, I imagine every slash, every whip, every blood that is dripped down his body, and he still loved those people. And so that's where I feel like empathy comes in.
He said, while he was dying on the cross, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." People in this world, sometimes like there's just like this, wall up against them that they really can't, or glasses that they have on that they don't even know why they are the way they are, or what they're doing is hurting somebody else. Like their intentions may be, they think nice, happy that they're for you, but the way that they're coming off and projecting on themselves is so not aligned with that. And being able to look at the outside broader picture and not be so in the one-on-one, seeing it from the outside perspective of, this is all that they can give me because this is all they know.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that so often, if you look at I have been able to, with what I do, I work in mental health and I work in addiction recovery, and I've been able to see the worst, not the worst, because obviously there's a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in that realm. And I've been able to look at situations and what people have gone through and actually understand we are all doing our best with what we have, with the tools that we have given. And each person that has hurt me or wronged me is an opportunity for me to grow, is an opportunity for me to have a conversation that might be a little bit difficult. Because most of the time when you go and have that hard conversation with somebody, you realize like, oh, that's not what I saw. This is what I saw. Oh, that's not what I saw. This is what I saw. And you come together and you learn and you grow and you love together. And a lot of times we only see through our own foggy mirror. We don't even take the opportunity to realize, oh, there's another perspective in the world. Somebody thinks differently from Tina. Like, yes, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of perspectives. It's not our job to change another person's perspective. It's our job to learn about them and grow and experience like, hey, yeah, this person did this hurtful thing and it sucks and it hurts. And why do they appear to be living such a great life when, I'm over here suffering from what they did to me? Yeah, you may be right. You may be suffering from what they did to you. But then you realize it and you get up and you pray.
You have to choose.
And you choose. Yep. You choose to live a different life.
Yeah. So for me personally, there's this song that really resonates with me, and it's called Older. And it goes, the older I get, the more that I understand my parents aren't heroes. They're just like me. Meaning that, your parents or anybody in your life that has wronged you, everybody I within my soul, I think that everybody's always just trying to do the best that they possibly can. And sometimes their best is not their best at all. And everybody is on a different playing field in life, and what they can give to others is what they give themselves. So if they are coming from a place of anger, hate, all the things that nobody likes and wants in life, but they're giving that to you, it's a perception and projection of what they feel about themselves. For me, I grew up in a very hateful environment where we did not speak nicely to one another. So for me, I held on to unforgiveness with my parents, and especially my mom. And I've realized, because they're human beings, they only know what they know and where they've come from and their experience, and that's what they have portrayed on, their kids and other people. And I've accepted that they cannot, especially my mom, like, she will never be the human being that I wish that she could be. And prayer, I don't shut out miracles. I've seen miracles happen in her life, but until she decides to change, it's on her. I can't do anything more, but I show up and I forgive her and I love her.
What you're sharing is, like, you have a choice to sit there and let it suffer, let it eat you away, make bad choices, or you have a choice to heal and to love. And I think that even if somebody close to you has wronged you, like what happened with Jeffrey Dahmer, like his mom wronged him. His mom pretty much tried to kill him when he was in the womb. Like, you are choosing a different life for yourself. You're choosing to heal. You're choosing to grow. And that's why we want to come on here and share with you. Like, we've all gone through some really horrible things, but listening to this and hearing how we're making a difference in our lives is super powerful. And that's what we want you to hear. We want you to hear that through our pain, you can heal, if that makes sense. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about the end of the episode, or end of the season, or whatever you want to call it, the whole show. It was, I don't know, maybe 13 episodes. And how at the end, like Sarah was saying, he was in prison. He had he had been caught, and his dad tried to get him out of it again. Like, let's get a lawyer. And he's like, no, Dad, I did these things. Like, he was so happy to admit that he did this stuff wrong because it was so debilitating for him, and he knew he needed to suffer. And then he saw something on TV, or he saw a pastor, or I don't remember the exact, it's been quite some time since I've watched it. And he saw like people being, accepted into, the love of Christ. And he was curious. He's like, what is that? What does that mean? What is the love of Christ? So you're telling me that everything I've done can be forgiven? And I just feel like that's so powerful because human beings want to be the judge.
And we're not the judger. There's only one judge, and it's God himself. And when we get to heaven, he will judge each and every one of us for what we did, not what everybody else. We're always trying to point the finger on other people, and we never want to turn from within. And the real change that we want to see and be in the world comes from within. And when you realize that, you start to show up differently in the world, and you realize that everybody on this planet just wants to be seen and loved, because that's what I want. That's what I think the mass majority of human beings just want to know, that they are seen and that they are loved. And it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you've done. You are forgiven. I mean, in Jesus Christ, like, he died for every single one of us, no matter if you cheated on a test at one point or if you killed somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, it does not matter the sin that you have done, because every single one of us has fallen short, and we do not.
There will be different consequences for different sins, but to God, a sin is a sin, yes, essentially. And the interesting part about what I feel like happened at the end, which just brought like shaking tears to my body, was there was another man in the prison that was convinced that as a Christian, he needed to kill Jeffrey Dahmer because of what Jeffrey Dahmer had done to all those people. And he this man firmly believed that he was hearing from God what he needed to do. And I think that this show is very extreme in what they shared, but I think it really shows an example of what a lot of Christians, I think, believe, is that they are the judge of who's allowed to come into the kingdom and who's not. I know that there have been situations when I've gotten on my knees screaming, crying, and praying, and I said to God, I was like, you don't want so-and-so in your kingdom, because I was so upset. And then of course I cried and like just listened to stillness, and he said, no, Tina, you don't want so-and-so in your kingdom, in my kingdom. I do. And I was like, oh crap, that was a big slap in the face, because so often I feel like we tell people who deserves God's love and who doesn't deserve God's love. But that is not what Jesus Christ would want.
No, none of us deserve it, but we all are gifted the opportunity to allow Jesus Christ into your soul, into our hearts, to be forgiven for everything that you have done. And you just give it to him, and you learn and walk better than you did beforehand. I mean,
and we're literally pleading with you, because if you could see where our lives were 5 years ago, just 3 years ago, and the change that has taken place since we've truly, I guess I'll speak for me, since I've truly accepted Jesus Christ into my life, the way that I live my life, the way that I love other people, the way that I forgive, the way that I have conversations is different. And there is no other way that it could have happened without me building a relationship with Jesus. And the reason why I plead with you is because there's so much pain and so much suffering in this world, and all you have to do is call on him. And that is why we want to share this episode, because even in the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, which is somebody who killed and murdered other people, you can find that Jesus can save.
Yes. I mean, he is the savior of the entire world. And because, going off of what Tina said, my life is completely different than it was 3 years ago as well. But I always believed in God, but I was never walking the walk of what it meant to be a believer and see the fruits of that, because I was holding on to anger and bitterness, and I was never receiving the fruits of the Spirit, which is peace, love, joy, self-control. I didn't have any of that in my life, so it was still believing, but living a life of the world, and we are not called to be of the world. We just live in this world.
Absolutely. And I'll just share a couple examples of, because I know that a lot of people are very hesitant, or they don't think the Bible is accurate or whatever it is, and they're fearful. And I will share with you, when I started to really be a follower of Christ, I had people in the religion, in church, telling me I shouldn't be doing this because this is wrong. I shouldn't be posting this because this is not of God. I shouldn't be acting this way because this is not of God. And I will tell you, if I would have truly taken the human as my God, I would have not followed Jesus. And it was through my following of Jesus that I felt convicted to make choices and changes in my life, and not a second sooner. And there is no human being in this world who could convict me enough for me to want to change my life. But when I fully accepted my choices, my behavior, and the wrongs I've done, which I believe that Jeffrey Dahmer did, I believe at the end of his life, according to the show, I believe at the end of his life, he realized, this is what I did wrong. I am convicted because of what Jesus did for me. And then in turn, when the guy came to kill him, sorry, ruining the ending here. When the guy came to kill him, he did not resist in any way. You could see the look in his eyes, and you could see he knew what he had done wrong, and he was ready to suffer for his sins. And he was a new Christian, so he didn't even know. He looked at this guy like, well, maybe he's right. He's known God a lot longer than I've known God. Maybe this guy knows what he's doing. And it's just so many similarities to today.
Yeah. And you could, at the end of the show, when he was in prison and he realized that Jesus died for everybody, that gave him, I think, the aha moment of he could let go of the guilt that he had on himself, that he could forgive himself for all of the things that he did and move on. And I think so many people hold on to guilt, shame, and unforgiveness from themselves, so it's very, very hard for them to forgive other people. But if you're holding on to any kind of unforgiveness, any kind of shame and guilt, that's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Like, please, for the love of God, forgive and move on, because it will cleanse your own soul. It is that other person that wronged you, that did you dirty, that you never want to speak to again, who you're wishing evil things to them. All you are doing is hurting your own soul, and you're drinking the poison that you wish you could give them as they're walking around living their life happy-go-lucky, doing what they want to do on a daily basis, not giving a crap of what they've done to you, because they don't even realize how that you're still holding on to that hate and unforgiveness and bitterness, but you're still choosing every single day to drink that shit. Like, let it go.
And also on that, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I really wanted to talk about this. So I was thinking about the other day, I was talking, I don't know I was talking to Elizabeth, one of our strong prayer warriors. And I thought to myself, when I was releasing yet another level of forgiveness from the same person, and I thought to myself, like, oh my gosh, I have Jesus in my life. Like, the love and joy that he has given me, that he has shown me in my life, and the person who, I was working on forgiving, really, I can't say where this person is or how they're feeling, but just based upon life choices, I know they probably don't have Jesus in their heart. And I think to myself, holy smokes, the joy that is in my heart and I'm living, it is up to me to be a light for this person. It is up to me to share the love of Christ, because they don't experience it. And that is a horrible place to be. For people who don't truly feel and have the light and love of Jesus in their heart. Like, I've had him for 3 years now, and then I'm obviously, till I die, he's going to be a part of my life. And all of this earthly life that I'm living with the Holy Spirit inside of me is the most powerful feeling I've ever felt in my life. And the people who haven't fully accepted him yet, that sucks.
And we're here, this episode, I pray to God that you get that aha moment of, there is something more out there, that you can turn and create a whole new life of love and fulfillment because of Jesus Christ. Like, you are forgiven, you are loved, you are worthy, no matter who you are, what you've done, where you come from, it does not matter. There's always a second chance. There's always another opportunity to change. But
and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth,
yes.
and a seventh.
Yes, and it's just up to you. And so the next time that you're in a space where it's hard to, that person's coming at you and it's hard to love that person, just realize that they don't know and they don't realize what they're doing, and it's up to you to see them for who they are on the inside, and they're just another soul. Everybody's having a different human experience, and you have no idea where they came from and why they are acting the way they are. So just show up with a smile, give somebody a compliment.
Nobody's
Pay it
perfect.
forward. Yes, nobody is perfect.
We're not supposed to be.
No. Empathy. Don't even, you're never going to know somebody else's story until you walk in their shoes, and that's essentially never going to happen. And I just pray and wish that through this episode, forgiveness is on the forefront of your mind. So no matter who you're upset and angry at, especially if that's yourself, let it go and give it to God.
Yeah, and it's amazing what he can do when you give it to him, when you give the pain and suffering to him. And so, I don't know, we thought that because it's such an extreme thing that we're talking about here, one of the worst things in the world to talk about, we felt like that's where Jesus comes in your darkest hour, your darkest place, the darkest spot you could ever imagine being in. That's where he comes in, and just please give him an opportunity, even if you try it just for a little bit. You'll see, if you just don't give up on the fact that you are here for a purpose. You are filled with love and joy. It is not an accident. The statistics of you being on this earth at this time, you being chosen at this time, is 1 in 444 trillion. Yeah, fact check me. So it's not an accident, and you are not meant to live a mediocre life. You are meant to live a life filled with love and joy. There's not to say there's not going to be pain and suffering. Sara and I could tell you stories. You'd probably never talk to us again about the pain and suffering and things we've done and what we've gone through. But the important thing is now we've accepted him. Now we're making changes. Now we're sharing with you through our mistakes, through our challenges, and through the things we've experienced. And this is real-time stuff. Yes, it's Jeffrey Dahmer who, committed murders, but also you can't tell me there's not people in this world suffering right now wanting to end their life. That this is who we're speaking to, people who feel that they have nowhere else to turn. I promise you have somewhere to turn, and it is to the Lord Jesus Christ. He will save you. He will rescue you.
Amen. Love God, love people, and serve the world with your hearts. Thank you so much for listening and sharing and subscribing to our channel. We are so excited to announce the launch of Fearless Queens podcast apparel. This apparel is going to be made by students of Wolcott, Indiana High School who are receiving college credit for their entrepreneurship program. 10% of the proceeds will go to the Wolcott entrepreneurship program to help the expansion. Another 10% will go to the Indiana Dunes Great Banquet. It's a nonprofit organization located in Valparaiso, Indiana, who spread the agape love of God throughout the region. This holds a special place in mine and Tina's heart because without meeting at this retreat, there would be no Fearless Queens podcast. And the remainder of the proceeds will go to help continue the show's funding. Pre-order your apparel through their Instagram handle at Fearless Queens Pod. Thank you so much again for listening, and pre-order yours today.